Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Jessica Coughlin. I am the Emergency Services Coordinator for the Office of Drinking Water. I apologize I'm not able to be with you today due to some scheduling conflicts. And then also I'm in the third trimester of my third pregnancy. So I'm not able to travel long distances right now. I'm just getting a little uncomfortable with not being near my doctor. So I'm going to go ahead and lead us today in some drinking water information that you can use later this afternoon for the tabletop exercise. So what is drinking water? Basically anything that involves water in your home for consumption, for daily activities, that includes drinking, but also hand washing, bathing, showering, cooking, making baby formula, cooking noodles, really anything that you use water for is considered drinking water. We'll get into some legal FAQs here, and this will help set the stage a little bit. So the Safe Drinking Water Act was passed by Congress in 1974 to protect public health by regulating the nation's public drinking water supply. So the law was amended twice, but it hasn't been amended since 1996. And a lot of those amendments protect the source water. So source water meaning the rivers, lakes, springs, groundwater wells, where the drinking water would come from. So it also recognizes that everyone relies on safe drinking water. So everyone has the right to know where it comes from. And that all of the water suppliers have to notify customers quickly if there's a serious problem with the water quality. Quickly used to be 24 hours, and a bill was just passed and signed by Governor Youngkin that brought that hour limit to 2 hours. So from a specific water emergency where communication to our office was quite delayed, a lot of elected officials got involved, and now we're working on the policy to go with the amended bill about the 2-hour notification versus what used to be a 24-hour notification to our office and the consumers. So they're legally enforceable. The standards and the waterworks regulations, we are overseen by the EPA, so we report all of our findings to the EPA, and then we can take legal action if the safety standards are not met. We do have a few different systems in sort of internal enforcement actions, and then we also do have one in particular that I know of in the court process and the legal process in the Shenandoah Valley related to just being a negligent provider. So what is a public waterworks? And that public can be a confusing term because waterworks can also be privately owned. But a public waterworks is anybody, any company or municipality or locality that provides piped water for human consumption to at least 15 connections or serves on average 25 people a day. So that's where you get into the restaurants, the breweries, campgrounds, marinas, that sort of thing. Unfortunately, if folks get below 15 connections, so 14 or less, it's kind of this unregulated no man's land, and that really can be challenging for communities. So we regulate 2,800 waterworks in Virginia, 20 of the largest waterworks, so over 55% of the population. Those are going to be your big urban areas, Fairfax, Chesterfield, Richmond, Arlington, those sorts of places. So we're the regulatory office. We actually don't own any waterworks. We don't operate any waterworks. We are the regulatory office that oversees the public waterworks in Virginia. We perform sanitary surveys. We issue construction and operations permits. We enforce the chemical and bacteriological water quality sampling. We provide technical assistance. So I would say about half to 2/3 of our staff are professional engineers. They have that PE designation behind their name and can provide a vast array of knowledge to waterworks operators. We provide financial and construction assistance, emergency management assistance. We also provide education to waterworks operators. So we do a lot in our office. This is a map of our field offices. We have 6 field offices, and then including our Richmond field office, which is also coupled with our central office. So these are pretty large areas. I mean, all the way from Roanoke goes all the way up to Page County, Shenandoah County, Southwest Virginia. It's a really large area. So our field offices have 1 field director and a small amount of staff that cover a very large area. So a few things that we do not do, and this is important just to distinguish what we do versus what some other offices do. So we do not provide emergency drinking water resources. If there is a water emergency, really the waterworks is responsible for providing emergency drinking water. But what we have typically found is that the locality will step in and then also request assistance from VDEM. So our office has no emergency procurement abilities. I have no budget, so we cannot provide those emergency drinking water resources. We do not regulate private connections into homes or businesses. So if you have a strip mall or you have an apartment complex, those are considered private property. So we will regulate up until the meter, which is the waterworks property, and then anything past that we do not regulate. We do not regulate private wells or septic systems, and that can be confusing because a private well, that's where your drinking water comes from, but you're only a connection of one. So we do not regulate anything related to private wells or septic systems. Some waterworks will use community wells, but then that is when there are 15 connections plus from that community well. So we don't do anything related to sewage, that's DEQ. So generally, sewage is not going to affect drinking water. There have been some instances where the release was so large that it actually got to the next drinking water intake, but typically sewage outfalls or sewage releases are downstream of drinking water intakes. So they really don't affect us, and anything sewage related is handled by DEQ. And then we do not issue advisories for recreational waters. That is the Office of Environmental Health Services. So that's still within VDH, but that's a different office. They will issue shellfish warnings, swimming, recreational advisories in conjunction with the local health district. So what is a water emergency? These are in no particular order. They are definitely up for debate. They're definitely up for editing. These are just some very broad situations that I have found over the last 18 months working with the Office of Drinking Water. So a situation where there's no water flowing that affects critical infrastructure, correctional centers, long-term care facilities, hospitals, really any healthcare dialysis, they have to have water, clean running water to operate so vital services. So if there's not any water flowing that affects these critical infrastructure or large populations, especially over an extended period of time, that's definitely an emergency. So any residential location under a do not drink or a do not use. So a do not drink or do not use is not the end of the world, but there's some sort of serious problem going on that needs to be rectified. And our office can help rectify that situation. We can provide that technical assistance. We really don't want to go longer than 6 or 12 hours without folks having access to reliable drinking water. So when we get past the 6 hours, 12 hours under a do not drink or a do not use or no water, that really does begin to affect people's quality of life. And we need to make sure that the waterworks are being responsible and providing reliable drinking water. So when a do not use is issued, or really because of contaminants in the water, but also really any hazmat situation that's going to impact a water intake. Any hazmat situation, we've seen a couple in Virginia, it is serious and needs to be monitored. Sometimes they end up being nothing, or a waterworks can change their intake, or there's filters and booms and that sort of stuff that can be put in place. But if it's going to result in a do not use or a do not drink, that's a serious situation that we need to be involved with. Large-scale boil water advisories, and then large-scale catastrophic disasters such as hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes. cyber attacks. These things have the ability to stop water from flowing. We saw that with Hurricane Helene. And then, the Central Virginia fault is right between Charlottesville and Richmond. So there's a lot of potential here for some catastrophic effects to drinking water in Virginia. We have had a few water emergencies in Virginia. Not one emergency has been even slightly similar. So there's a couple here. There were drought conditions. This was a negligent owner. So the water's there. It just isn't being treated because the owner is negligent in the waterworks reliability and the way it operates. Charles City County, there was a long-term petroleum leak into a drinking water well. And this drinking water well also was used to prepare hot food, also ice, coffee, tea. And so that was a long-term petroleum leak that is currently still being rectified. And that was a real joint effort with the local health district and also DEQ. The city of Winchester had an antitoxin A harmful algal bloom that they had to issue a do not drink for. And so that was a important health advisory. We had to get to the state toxicologist involved and really work with the city and work with the community so that they understand the impacts from that. South Hill, this is the warehouse fire, and the contaminants entered 2 watersheds, so not just the firefighting foam, but the actual herbicides, pesticides from the warehouse. Arlington County is served by the federally owned aqueduct. So the federally owned aqueduct serves DC and Fairfax, and DC serves Arlington. So this is the situation of a consecutive system. Arlington has no control over the water they receive, so the aqueduct really has to bear the notification process for this. And that was due to increased turbidity, so increased gunk in the water. It was an algal bloom, but it wasn't a harmful algal bloom. And we saw a lot of increased turbidity for Hurricane Helene, and it's just debris and, again, just cloudiness, gunk, and the waterworks treatment plant isn't able to filter properly, so then a boil water advisory is issued. Orange County, this is where those amended bills came from. This was an unknown odor, and there was a large in-depth investigation by police, by DEQ, by our office, and it ended up being the water treatment plant itself. Their pumps had failed and sent the food grade mineral oil into the drinking water supply, but it was really burnt at that time. So there was a delay in notification to our office regarding that equipment failure. So that's where that 24 hours to 2 hours came from. Southwest Virginia with Hurricane Helene. This was 6 miles of pipe in Washington County just completely erased from their system, unfortunately, due to the flooding damage, the increased turbidity that affected the area that serves Virginia Tech. And then also the New River Valley, the Holston Lake, they had hazmat containers in their source water. So monitoring those hazmat containers was a situation that had to be dealt with. We had the city of Richmond, no water, large scale boil water advisory. That really was from a power outage, but then also the redundant systems were not utilized properly or they failed. Ultimately, the water treatment plant itself flooded. And we're talking about swift water, 8 feet of swift water coming into that water treatment plant. And then also their whole electrical system was impacted by that flooding. So that was a long-term event that really took a lot to rectify. And then also Southwest Virginia, again, the latest winter storm flooding, unfortunately. So lots of different situations. These are some of the big ones over the last year, but there's also been a lot of medium-sized ones and a lot of small boil water advisories every day that pop up. So one lesson learned from each, all of these inconsistent emergencies, the consistency is that folks need to prepare now. So whether you're a waterworks, whether you're a locality, whether you're a health district, the preparation needs to happen now, and it needs to happen at the locality level, and it needs to happen with the waterworks. So the waterworks has to be involved in these conversations. They know their systems. It's not up for emergency management or public health or anybody to manage the water system itself, just to work with them so that they understand the complications that can happen and the community impact that can occur from something catastrophic happening. So definitely get them involved. They also know the water systems. They know the limitations. So it's really important to worst case scenario plan with them. That involves your local emergency management, your state emergency management, public health. So our office, we're happy to be involved. I am happy to be involved. We also have 6 field offices. Definitely the Office of Drinking Water, local health districts, very involved in their communities, and then environmental health as well. Healthcare, if you have healthcare facilities in your communities, it's important to really engage with them and engage with the healthcare coalitions. Any drinking water emergency is going to impact healthcare depending on the location. So they need to be prepared, and everyone needs to help them prepare as well. Communications, we're just not as fast as social media, and in the age of not being as fast as social media, we're always going to be behind. A lot of times we learn of a water emergency from social media, unfortunately. So definitely getting everyone in communications on the same page, state communications, locality communications. There's localities that have several PIOs with the schools, that sort of thing. So definitely getting the communications teams all together. Local government, elected officials. Orange County specifically really impacted local government and local elected officials. So they did not understand the impact that a water emergency would have on them, and now they understand. So getting them involved earlier rather than later is going to be important. State government officials, the federal government, EPA is always willing to step up and help. And then we always work with our other state agencies, so DEQ, VDACs. We're always happy to work with them and bring them in to work with you guys at the local level to really prepare now. And that's really what we're seeing is if localities are able to prepare and prepare their communities, those are the situations that really end up better and end up shorter lived, quite honestly. I will take any questions. Show my information real quick first. So this is my information, and that's my cell phone and my email address. I'm more than happy to answer any questions, either through email or cell phone, or you can ask any questions you have now. Thank you.